Hello, everyone. I want to talk about fear of man and biblical counseling. Maybe you can use euphemisms for fear of man or use synonyms. We're talking about insecurity, being inhibited when sharing counsel or when telling somebody what to do, when directing an individual. There's two aspects here. There is having courage and also having compassion, and we can err on either side. And I realize that, and it's so easy to do that. But I want to speak to the courage side of discipleship or the courage side of biblical counseling, and then I'm going to assume that the compassion is appropriately there. But I just want to dial in on courage for just a moment. Truth or communicating the truth is not always comforting for the person who is hearing it. If you love them and you want to help them, there are times when you have to say challenging and difficult things to an individual. And when they hear it at first, at least it's not comforting, not in the beginning. When Jesus called people to repentance, he didn't soften the blow. He told them plainly that if they did not turn from their sin, they would perish. You read that in Luke 13, verse number 3. Sometimes in biblical counseling, the counselor will say something difficult, and then they will almost apologize for saying it or run out in front of them and try to create some kind of soft landing. And many times that's because they don't want the person who is hearing what they said to be angry, frustrated, to blow back. They struggle with fear of man. The counselor does. They are insecure and they don't want that other person to be angry with them, and so they soften the edge of what they are saying. Now again, all of this is undergirded by an assumed compassion. I'm speaking specifically of courage. That's not exactly a feel-good message when Jesus says when he's calling someone to repentance, but it is a loving message, and this is the part that we have to get through our heads, that when we say difficult things to people with appropriate compassion, that is one of the most loving things that you can do with an individual. Someone asked whether a person can find encouragement when they're told that they will die angry and bitter if they don't change. Can they find encouragement in hearing that kind of message? Well, the short answer is not initially. I mean, no one wants to hear that their stubbornness is destroying their psyche. Their stubbornness is destroying their soul. Nobody wants to hear that. And so the short answer is if someone said that, you're going to die angry and bitter if you don't change, well, initially that is not a feel-good message, but real encouragement. Biblical encouragement isn't about making someone comfortable in their sin. Biblical encouragement is about leading them to the truth that ultimately sets them free. And sometimes leading them to the truth requires saying challenging things to them because they are stuck. Bitterness, for example, like any sin, it operates on a simple principle: sow and reap. Keep sowing bitterness, and you're going to reap a field of horrible herbs. Galatians 6, 7, and 8. If a person continually rehearses their anger, their resentment, they will only grow more entrenched in it. It's like drinking poison and expecting it to harm someone else. Telling someone this truth isn't harsh, it's necessary. Now, does this truth tempt people to hide their struggles instead of seeking help? Of course it could. That's human nature. Adam and Eve did it in the garden, covering themselves in fig leaves, hiding behind the fig leaves rather than coming clean before God. But what's the alternative? Downplaying sin, pretending it's not there. That is far worse. And so the goal here isn't to push people away, but to love them enough to be honest, even when the honesty stings. Now, some people will not want to hear it. And we will always want to gauge how we said it. Again, we can trip over the line where it's courage without compassion. I understand that. But transformation is hard, and carrying a cross is costly. But for those who embrace the truth and lean into the process, no matter how much it stings in the beginning, how much they did not want to hear the truth, the result is life, joy, and freedom. Not superficial, temporary happiness, but a deep, abiding peace that comes from walking in obedience to Christ. Real discipleship is not about making people comfortable. It's about making them Christ-like. That's the path that we walk here at Life Over Coffee, and it's the only one worth taking.